Two of the following videos are true, while the other one is trash. Can you spot the fake? Season 4, Episode 7. Round 1, let's begin. First, take a hard-boiled egg and peel off its shell. Then place it on a plate and put it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. After I heated it up, I quickly placed a cardboard box with cutouts to protect myself for the next part, which is using a butter knife to cut through the egg. Once it hits the yolk, the hot egg will explode, as you can see here. This is a bottle of active yeast. Yeast is a living organism that looks like this under an electron microscope. You can't really tell it's alive just by looking at it in a jar. However, if the yeast feels like it's in danger, its only survival mechanism is to jump when it feels threatened. Dipping a comb in the jar to pick some up, and you see some distressed yeast is jumping off. If you have a beaker of water and accidentally spill some motor oil in it, you can use this substance called EnviroBond to clean up the oil spill. Sprinkle in some of this substance and wait a few hours. When you come back, the oil has been absorbed, but not the water, allowing you to scoop out just the oil and remove almost all of it. You've now seen all 3 videos, and it's time to pause to vote in the comments for which one you thought was fake. Microwaving an egg for about 20 seconds does cause it to explode when you cut through it. The moisture in the yolk turns into steam and pressure builds up inside the egg, such that when I cut through it, that pressure is released in a beautiful way, but don't do this because it sends really hot egg flying everywhere. EnviroBond is a special substance that can be used to clean up oil spills because it absorbs hydrocarbons like that in oil while repelling water. Yeast is a living organism, but it doesn't look like this, and it's not capable of moving like an insect. The yeast appears to be jumping due to the buildup of static charge, which is why I used a comb to scoop some of it out after rubbing the comb on my hair to increase the static charge. Here's a quick recap to help you follow before moving on to the next round. Before we move on to round 2, I wanted to let you know I released a demo of my video game Stick Scholars on Steam. Stick Scholars is an online party game you can play with your friends where the group is trying to graduate by parkouring to school and answering trivia, while one member in your group is secretly the class clown who's trying to sabotage. I saw this Reddit post describe it as Among Us meets Fall Guys meets Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader, so if that sounds fun to you, grab some friends and try it out. If you want more details on how to play, you can watch the trailer that I'll link in the description. Thanks for your support, and now on to round number 2. First up, take a small bottle of hexane and pour the entire thing into a large container of water. Then take a glass pint like this and carefully submerge it in the hexane water solution. Make sure to seal it up and leave it submerged for about 24 hours. The hexane polymerizes the silica in the glass, which turns the glass into a rubber-like material that's rather easy to bend. If you shake a can of Coke and then open it up, you probably know that this ends in a messy disaster as the Coke spills everywhere. However, if after you shake the can, you flick the sides of the can all around it, now you've made it so you can open the can without creating a mess. First up, add a bunch of spinach to a container with some water and blend it up. Now pour the spinach juice into a glass. The spinach juice looks green under normal lighting conditions, but if I shine a black light or UV flashlight on the spinach, now it looks red. You've now seen all 3 videos, and it's time to pause to vote in the comments for which one you thought was fake. It's true that flicking the sides of a can all around prevents a giant mess. When you shake the can, there are many tiny bubbles that attach themselves to the side of the can, as you can see here more clearly with this Sprite bottle. When the can is open, the pressure is released and those tiny bubbles expand and rise, which releases more carbonation in a chain reaction and causes the drink to spill. However, flicking the sides of the can disturbs those bubbles and forces them off the sides and up to the top. I use this plastic Sprite bottle since it's clear and you can actually see the bubbles move, but this container is much more difficult to get all the bubbles off the wall, so I don't recommend trying it because it will likely end in disaster. Similar to the olive oil that I showed in a previous short, spinach juice does glow red when exposed to a black light. This red fluorescence is also due to the presence of chlorophyll. Adding hexane to water and soaking a glass pint in it does not make it squishy. I just used a clear plastic pint glass from the beginning and added glass clinking sounds when I flicked it. And no, I didn't actually pour this much hexane into water, which you definitely shouldn't do. I was out of hexane, so I just filled up this container with water and added it. Here's a quick recap to help you follow before moving on to the next round. Now it's time for the final round, round 3. This is a camping lantern. In addition to a regular light mode, it also has a red light mode. This helps your eyes maintain low light visibility, but if you're playing cards in the dark with red light, you can see the black cards, but the red cards look completely blank. Even though when I turn the real lights back on, you can see it wasn't blank. Flash paper burns really quickly, but it also ignites at a pretty low temperature. So rather than directly touching the lighter flame to the flash paper, I can simply ignite a flame below the flash paper, and the rising heat will ignite it without the flame needing to make physical contact with the paper. Turmeric is a common spice in many dishes around the world, but the other ingredients in these dishes obscure the fact that it's actually one of the few naturally occurring glow-in-the-dark substances. Pouring just turmeric into water and mixing it up, and now you can see that not only does it glow under a black light, but it also stays glowing for several seconds once the light is turned off. You've now seen all 3 videos, and it's time to pause to vote in the comments for which one you thought was fake. When your only light source is red light, the red playing cards do look blank. A white light source shines all wavelengths of light in the visible spectrum. When that light hits a white object, it reflects all those wavelengths, which is why your eyes perceive that object as white. When white light shines on a red object, that object is absorbing all wavelengths of light except for red, which is reflected, hence why your eyes perceive that object as red. However, if instead of white light, the light source is red, then an object that's normally white still reflects all wavelengths of light, but the only wavelength to reflect is red. So your eyes perceive that object as red. Similarly, when the red light shines on the red object, that object still only reflects red. Now you can see that under red light, both white and red objects appear red. That's why the playing cards look blank. The background that's normally perceived as white and the images that are normally red are blending together. The rising heat from a lighter flame also does ignite flash paper from a distance. That means turmeric is not glow in the dark. I swapped out the actual turmeric for this glow in the dark powder while you weren't looking. Here's a quick recap of the final round, and don't forget to try out the demo of Stick Scholars for free while you can. I added a couple of Two Truths and Trash references in it just for fun. The Season 3 intro had sticky hands, so I added some sticky hands as obstacles on the way to school. I also added laser pointers and tungsten cubes. The lasers are to be avoided at all costs, while you often need to move the tungsten cubes to be able to get to school. I had so much fun making this game and even more fun playing it with my friends, so I hope you do too. Thanks for watching to the end, and I'll see you next time.